Good afternoon. I'm Mayor Pekau, and I'm here with Sam Brokup, the foreman of our streets department, and also our snow commander for whenever we have snow incidents. And we thought we would do this video to inform you of how we handle snow and answer some of the frequently asked questions that we have. So first, Sam, I'm going to start with, as someone who has plowed snow for the village in the past with my company, I understand there's a lot of preparation that goes into snow before winter even comes. So could you tell people a little bit about what we prepare for
Sure.
prior to the snow season even beginning?
Absolutely. Snow season isn't just a winter activity here for the village of Orland Park. Our snow season actually begins somewhere in the end of the summer, early fall, when we start readying our equipment for the upcoming season. That involves salt spreader calibrations, putting plows on our vehicles, spreaders on our vehicles, making sure the vehicles are hydraulically and mechanically up to snuff, as well as all those things that go into a piece of snow finding equipment.
What people don't understand too is there's a lot of preparation that goes on during the season when you see an event coming. So can you tell them a little bit about how we prepare for something when we know that there's a snowstorm and everyone on TV is saying, you're going to have 9 inches of snow, you're going to have 7 inches of snow. We're monitoring that and we're preparing for that. What types of things go into play for that preparation?
Sure. It seems like everybody has a trusted source of their weather forecast and what type of weather is coming. Our snow season typically starts, I like to say, runs through first day of December through the end of March. Once again, that's when, once our equipment is readied and things of that nature. If we're expecting a snowstorm during that time, weather is monitored 24 hours a day in between that 4-month window. It's my responsibility. I monitor the weather, tracking it up to a week in advance. As that window narrows and closens, we start alerting personnel as possibly who's available, who's not available to fight the snow. As it gets even a little closer, within 24 hours, we have a better handle on that window of when it's going to start snowing, and expect it to start and stop, and as well as expected accumulations.
And how do we break our personnel down? We have a couple of teams, and if you could explain that.
We do. Historically, we've used 2 teams of public works employees. We call them the A team and the B team, or the AM team and the PM team. Regardless, our village is broken down into 22 snow routes. 5 of those are float routes, which include arterial roads, the bigger roads throughout the village. 17 others are residential neighborhoods for the most part.
One of the questions that comes up a lot is we'll see complaints about LaGrange Road and Harlem and 159th and 108th and 104th, which are not our priorities, or we're not responsible for. So what are we responsible for, and what are we not responsible for on those main roads?
We're responsible for the village-owned roads, which include, like I said, the float routes, which are arterial roads. Each neighborhood has a primary street, secondaries, and cul-de-sacs we are responsible for. The roads that we are not responsible for, which are the heavier traveled roads, your LaGrange Road, 108th Avenue, Wolf Road, 104th Avenue, Harlem Avenue, 159th Street. Those are all not, although they are in the village of Orland Park, they are not under our jurisdiction for clearing. Our intent is to get you on our village-owned roads to those big roads as safely and quickly as possible.
And also included in that, you mentioned a lot of them, but also 80th Avenue is not one of those. 135th Street is not ours. Southwest Highway. So it's very important that people understand that those are other entities that are responsible for that. And I know from experience that if we see a problem on those roads, we coordinate with those agencies to make sure that they're aware that they have not plowed our sections.
Absolutely. During a snow event, although it may not be our jurisdiction, if we see one of our roads that crosses it, especially one of our roads that feeds a non-village owned road, we make sure we clear those as quickly as we can. We get windrows out of the way, and we will clean an area. If we contact the other agency and they're going to have a hard time getting there quickly enough, we will do it. And they do that for us too, if they see a problem close to one of our roads.
And you mentioned a little bit about priorities, but we also hear this, and I know from experience that it takes up to 8 hours to clear our snow across the entire village. So obviously everyone doesn't get handled in the first 10 or 15 minutes, but there's certain things we do right away for emergency vehicles and things like that. So can you explain how that process works so that people understand that, you know, you're in a cul-de-sac or you're not on your main drag in your subdivision, there's a reason why you're not done yet.
From the time it stops snowing to the time it's cleaned up, we give ourselves an 8-hour window to address those areas and the roads we are responsible for. At the onset of a snowstorm, we have that other crew, the B team, out in those areas keeping roads open for safe travel as we can. Keeping roads open. They're not salting, only on the hills, curves, and intersections, known trouble spots to keep things safe. That is not the final cleanup. I look at the radar and come up with a stop point, and I alert my crew, it is now time to begin our final cleanup. That's when the clock starts.
And with those B teams and even our A teams, what do they prioritize first?
And the B team, which is a much smaller crew than the final cleanup crew, it's about half the size. They're just trying to keep traffic moving while it's snowing. Once it stops snowing, our priorities turn to, obviously, the float routes will be curbed. Those are your bigger arterial roads.
So that would be a road like Wheeler Drive.
Wheeler Drive is a float street, yes.
151st Street would be another one of
Correct.
those. 143rd Street. So those would be the roads that are,
Yes.
because we need to keep those roads open for main travel because they are most heavily trafficked. So
Heavily
not
trafficked
your
and-
subdivisions.
Heavily trafficked and a little bit higher speed limit.
Yeah.
So and when you get into your subdivisions, we have them color coded here. You have your primary, which is typically your main road through a subdivision. That is addressed first. We get that as quickly as we can, at least a double center pass and salt on those as quickly as we can. Then we would move to the secondaries, same process, and then kind of move to a court, get you in and out of the courts with a pass at least, and then start all over again with the primaries and start curbing out a final cleanup.
What other challenges do you see out there that that people should be aware of, and what can they do to help you, and what are we trying to do to address some of those challenges?
One of the biggest hazards we have is mailboxes. The maintenance of your mailbox is your responsibility as a resident, not the responsibility of the Public Works Department. So we ask our drivers to take a close look and record the condition if they see a potential problem, mailboxes hanging in the street, and we will send them a letter. We have sent letters. We go through and we look at trees. We take care of the trees. That's not so much a resident responsibility, but things like the mailboxes in the street. I would say in closing that we have a very experienced amount of drivers here. We have dedicated employees here. They understand the importance of snow removal here, and they're doing the best they can with the resources they have to work with. They do a fantastic job, and I can't say enough about them.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it, my friend.
Anytime.